So how can I watch how I unenlighten myself when that's not the default state?
It's a good question, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. Okay. As you said, there's still the capacity to be aware, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's still the capacity to be aware. And since you have the capacity to be aware, then you can... a lot of this is sort of slowing everything down a little bit, which I mean by slowing everything down doesn't mean trying to slow it down. It just means kind of paying attention. And when you start to really pay attention, you'll start to not only see, but also feel. This is when your body becomes really useful for you, is when the conditioned mind starts to believe a thought and you feel your body even starting to contract. Your body will contract, your mind will contract, you'll feel some sense of dis-ease. And when you feel some sense of dis-ease, that's
when you start to follow it?
That's the little light that goes on and says, okay, I feel a sense of dis-ease, whatever that is, I feel a sense of dis-ease. That's a way that life is telling me that I'm not perceiving this moment exactly the way it is. And then you can look, okay? Because this is, I didn't mention this, so I'm glad you brought this up. Because often, we're taught, especially in spirituality, to kind of distrust our bodies. But in many senses, our bodies are very hooked up around truth. By that I mean, when we're functioning from a state of illusion or self-centeredness or separation, it doesn't actually feel good, right? Doesn't feel, you can delude yourself and it might feel pretty good for a while, but ultimately it really doesn't feel good. So when we start to contract psychologically or emotionally or bodily, that's a way that life is telling you, oh, I'm not seeing things the way they are. At that moment, then you can look at it and say, okay, what thought is being believed right now? What am I saying to myself? What is my mind, how is it talking to itself that's causing me to contract? That's what I mean by saying you're looking at how you unenlighten yourself. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to put Christine on hold because I can't hear. Sometimes when I put this person on hold and bring them back up, I can hear them. So let's see. Can you hear? I can hear you. Yeah, I got you back.
Okay.
Great.
So I do feel that in my body. I do start to feel that, and I can follow it, but sometimes it doesn't go anywhere. It's not necessarily thoughts. It's sometimes emotions, and I've been trying to kind of follow them, to look at them, and sometimes I just get blocked. I just can't do it. It just takes me.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's common too. So because sometimes you're right. It's sometimes it's just good enough to you don't have to do this conceptually at all. You can just sort of follow the emotion and things will sometimes rectify themselves just by really being intimately present. But often emotion gets into this place where it just kind of gets into a place of confusion, or it starts to spin in circles, or you don't really know what it's about, And one of the ways where you can get clarity on an emotion is almost like you take the position of the emotion. By that, I would ask your emotion, not your mind, not the things that's looking at the emotion, but you ask the emotion itself, like, how does this emotion view this situation? How does this emotion feel or view the world? How does this emotion feel or view myself? In other words, you try to allow the emotion to speak its story, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And because once you can feel, like a lot of times if I'm, say, working with somebody and they'll go, gosh, I just have this feeling, I just have this emotion. It's very powerful and I just cannot get clear. And I'll often say to the person, okay, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I want to talk to the emotion. So let me talk to the emotion. Let me talk to the fear or the upset or the anger or the sadness. Let me talk to it. And I'll just start to ask it, like, so, how do you see life? So, how do you see, sometimes I'll say the person's name I'm speaking to. How do you see her? What do you think about her? By asking those kind of questions directly to the emotion, then the emotion almost starts to confess to you its worldview, right? Once it starts to open up and tell you about its worldview, how it sees things, its judgments, it's what it's upset about, I mean, you'll start to feel like from the point of view of the emotion, its emotion makes good sense. It may ultimately be based on a misunderstanding or an illusion, but from the worldview of the emotion itself, what it's experiencing actually makes sense to it. Do you get a sense of that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, so give me a common emotion that kind of catches you.
Sadness.
Okay. Now, if I was to ask the sadness, okay, like, okay, so sadness, how does it feel to be you? How does it feel to be sad? What's it like?
It's very physical.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the physicality of it. I've been watching it, a lot, so I can feel how it moves in my body.
What's sadness? What is it sad about?
Sometimes I'm not even sure. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I know. See, you have to become the sadness. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Instead of looking at it or like I'm feeling the sadness, you kind of just relax that which separates you from the sadness and you kind of just become the sadness. You enter into its space. And of course there's fear. There's unconscious or conscious fear about doing that. Like who wants to just let go into sadness? But that's the invitation. So you're not standing outside of it, wondering what it's all about. You're actually really giving way to it. You're becoming it in a sense. Okay?
That makes sense.
Okay. See, because then you have there's like a sense of intimacy, right? There's a sense of closeness with the sadness then, with the emotion. Because with emotions, we usually approach them way too intelligently, you might say, almost like adults, like, so why am I sad? But imagine that you had a child, a very young child, say 2 years old, and they were sitting in a corner all by themselves, and they were just, sad. You didn't know why, but they were just sitting there, tears coming down their eyes or crying, and they were just overtaken with sadness, and you walked into the room. What would be your first instinct?
Go and hug them.
There you go. That's the first thing, isn't it? You wouldn't kind of sit there, on the other side of the room and go, so why are you sad? You would just immediately, you go up and there would be an embracing, right? So the distance between you and the sadness, your intuition would tell you, just close that distance. Just grab that child in your arms, hold her, and then you and the sadness are totally close. You're absolutely intimate. Only then can you actually hear what the sadness is about. You can't hear it. You can't get to it. You can't get access as long as you're kind of playing the position of the person who's looking at it or the person who's feeling it, you know? You get really intimate. And then just see. Just really, first of all, take it real slow. You just take a moment to just really be with it. And be with it. And be with it. And you're just inviting it to kind of confess itself to you. Do you know? Because only when you start to hear what's the sadness is based on, what's underlying it, can you actually do anything with it.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, thank you.
Do you get the sense of it? I hope you do.
Yeah, I really do. It's a different way.
It is.
Approaching it.
It is, because
I can feel what you're saying.
Good, because and if I put it in very simple language, I would say you are approaching that emotion then as an act of love. You're not approaching it as someone trying to get rid of it.
Right.
Right? Just like you would a child. You would approach that child first and foremost as an act of love. You wouldn't approach a child. You know, a bad parent would be unsettled by their sadness and just say, wipe the tears away and get over this. You know, they want to change the child. Isn't that what adults do with their own emotions often?
Yes.
Even when they talk to me. So, Adya, I'm feeling this way. How do I not feel this way? Do you know what I mean? And it's because we just forget our deepest impulse is when something's in pain, our deepest impulse is love. Approach it with love, then you can get somewhere. Approach it with, I want to change you and get rid of this, and all of a sudden it's, you know. Well, you know what it's like when someone comes up to you and wants to change you. What's your instinct? Right? Okay, Chris. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Christine.